Welcome back to the Middle Eight Football Podcast, the fastest 8 minutes in sports. I'm your host, Joe Burks, ready to break down this Thursday night matchup that happened last night between the Arizona Cardinals and the Seattle Seahawks. Seattle came out with the win 23-20. I predicted a 28-20 win for Seattle, so my prediction was correct. The score is just slightly off, so I consider it a win in my book. But let's go ahead and break down the Seahawks' performance. A relatively mistake-free football game from Sam Darnold, 18 for 26 passing, 242 passing yards, and one touchdown, no interceptions. By the way, he's been pretty good so far. They haven't had the toughest schedule this season, but they've now rattled off 3 wins in a row to get to 3-1 under Mike Macdonald in his second season as the Seahawks head coach. And there were a couple nice points in this win. But starting off, just a bit of a fantasy note, another running back by committee game for Seattle. Kenneth Walker III, 19 carries. Zach Charbonnet with 12. Walker was better in terms of efficiency. He logged 4.3 yards per carry versus Charbonnet's 3.3. But they did give Charbonnet a ton of goal line work. So that's something to note for you fantasy managers. I will say I wasn't especially impressed with the Seahawks' run blocking ability. Every time it seemed like Kenneth Walker got the ball, there would be penetration from the defensive front immediately. He would have to spin or turn around to try to get any sort of yardage. Maybe you can make the argument that he should have just gone down. It was tough sledding for a while, but they were able to get off some key big plays on the ground. Kenneth Walker having a 21-yard run play. As far as the star wide receiver Jackson Smith-Njigba, who has been remarkably consistent over the first couple weeks with a ridiculous target share, he was very quiet in the first half. They made it their defensive goal, it seemed like, to shut him down, putting guys all over him on the defense. But it was hard to stop him the whole game, and they couldn't. And Smith-Njigba finished with 4 receptions for 79 yards, most of that coming in the second half. As a JSN fantasy manager, I was pretty worried. I'm not going to lie. He had less than a point, I think, through the first couple quarters. But he really managed to put in a decent night work in terms of the box score. Not to mention coming up with a huge reception on that game-winning drive to put them somewhat in field goal range. He was able to turn around, adjust the football down the field, and somehow get out of bounds. The corner was between him in the out-of-bounds boundary. He was able to contort his body to get the ball out of bounds and stop the clock. Really impressive and a smart play from JSN. Moving to the defensive side of the ball for Seattle, Devon Witherspoon, 4th overall pick a couple years ago out of Illinois at corner, had a really good night. A couple pass breakups, looked pretty good in coverage. Even he gave up that Marvin Harrison Jr. touchdown, but the coverage on that play was really good. It was just a great catch from Marvin. We'll get onto that later, but I've been impressed with Witherspoon so far this year. 6 sacks for Seattle on Murray really helped, and that defensive front's looking pretty good for them. And then the last one I have, something kind of funny, that Kobe Bryant interception, well, I guess it wasn't an interception, picked off Kyler Murray, and then Bryant, the safety, got trucked by his own linebacker, Tyrese Knight, on the return, and then fumbled. The Cardinals picked it back up. That was probably the funniest moment of the game, in my opinion. Let's move on to the Cardinals. What a game from Marvin Harrison Jr., second-year wide receiver out of Ohio State. A guy that I was a huge fan of coming out. Obviously, he struggled last year, but still had a very productive rookie season. Over 800 yards, several touchdowns, good weapon in the red zone. But he had a really tough first half. Had a bobbled pass that basically he just gave right to the defense because he couldn't keep his hands on it, juggled it in the air. And then on that first Kyler Murray pick, it looked like he stopped running his route. Now, I still question the read from Murray. I don't know if Harrison was open enough to get the target there, but he stopped running his route and went right to the defense. So it was a tough half for Marvin Harrison Jr. However, he rebounded so well, made a couple really key catches, some really nice back shoulder balls from Kyler Murray in that second half, and Harrison adjusted beautifully to them, and then had that just dominant touchdown reception, pretty much mossing Witherspoon, who was playing great coverage, but Marvin just ripped it out the air on a nice contested catch, and it looked like he got his confidence back. So I'm super excited for him. He has an amazingly high ceiling still only in his second year in the league. I'm so excited to see if he can continue this momentum through the rest of the season. Trey Benson, new starter at running back for the Cardinals since James Conner went down with that season-ending ankle injury last week against San Francisco. Benson looked pretty good, averaged over 4 yards per carry. He's been remarkably efficient so far this year, even when he wasn't the starter, but I thought he looked pretty good, pretty involved in the passing game as usual as well, so your fantasy manager is going to get you some PPR points there. But I'm excited to see how Benson in this full-time starting role finally takes and runs with the opportunity. I think he has a chance to be the RB1 next year. I've said before, the way James Conner's contract extension is set up, they can cut him after this year with a minimal loss financially if they think Benson's the guy when they want to free up some cap space room. And if Benson shows a lot this year in terms of production and promise, I think there's a chance that happens, especially if there are question marks looming around James Conner's recovery. Moving on to Kyler Murray, he played a good game of football, I'll admit. I've been worried about Kyler Murray as a starter in terms of consistency in the past, but he really turned it on when needed to late in the game for this comeback for Arizona. Obviously, they still ended up losing, but I mean, I don't know what else you can ask him to do. Led a touchdown drive, and only left 28 seconds left on the clock, and to tie this game up 20-20, it would have gone to overtime. And I mean, it was a really great drive for Murray and Harrison also, obviously, to end the Cardinals' last offensive possession. He ended up with 200 passing yards, 41 rushing yards, 2 touchdowns through the air, and 2 interceptions as well. But I was impressed by Murray last night, despite the loss. Just a couple other notes for the Cardinals. Linebacker Mack Wilson. He's been in the league for a while, was with the Patriots for a bit, now on the Cardinals. He's really impressed me through the first couple weeks, especially as a run defender. He's making some fantastic tackles in the backfield, in the open field, and he is just a sledgehammer in the middle of this Arizona defense. And I'm excited from what I've seen from him. I think he could be a good player in this defense for the rest of the season at least. And then unfortunately, I have to give a negative shout out to Chad Ryland, kicker for the Arizona Cardinals. Had a decent night kicking the ball through the uprights, but on the kickoff made the fatal mistake of kicking it outside of the landing zone within 20 yards of the end zone. It was just outside that 20-yard line, so Seattle ended up getting the ball on the 40 to start out their drive, which made it a pretty simple game-winning drive with 30 seconds left in a timeout. Darnold was able to lead them down the field, and Jason Myers nailed that 52-yard game-winning field goal for Seattle. Obviously, it's not all on Ryland, the kicker. The defense still gave up those yards, those chunk plays, but it didn't help them to have Seattle start so far into their territory there. But overall, a great game. It was 17-3 at halftime. I was really concerned that this was just going to be a blowout, that Arizona wouldn't show any life, but they really made it close. And if you would have told me at halftime where it was 17-3, this game would have ended 23-20, I would not have believed you. But here we are, a great Thursday night game. And I'm really excited to see what we see this weekend with a good slate of games. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. Don't forget to share this podcast with your friends, your family, whoever. And I'll see you guys in the next one.